everyone, this episode is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight is your all-in-one go-to health drink. Fight is not only just an energy booster, it is a mood booster as well. So with your daily dose of vitamins, nootropics, 0 calories, it is your all-in-one health drink. I drink Fight every day. My clients drink it. Someone you probably know drinks it. And you guys, what I'm offering for as we get into 2025, we're doing a discount for 25% off your first order if you type in LYB. Okay, so we'll know that you came from the podcast, and that way we can make sure you get some Fight Energy and some other little goodies thrown in there too. So if you get a chance, we would love to know which team you are. Are you team strawberry? Are you team blueberry? Hey everyone, welcome to the LYB podcast. We are here today with Miss Sarah Beth Lewis. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here too. I know before we got on, I was like, okay, don't tell me everything.
Don't talk too much.
Yes, no, you're good. You're good. But yeah, because I wanted to everybody to just, I'm going to learn because I don't really know you. So we met through Instagram and Matt had actually, someone who's been on the podcast.
Yes.
He had
Grind season.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of our homies.
Yeah, that's what he said. And he was like, you need to check them out. I was like, okay, like, sure. I love that.
I was super excited because when he came up to the trailer and told us, we have a food trailer. So when he came up to the food trailer and told us about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to meet her. And he was like, well, I'll just share the info. I was like, oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, which is awesome. So you're from Murfreesboro, right?
I am from Murfreesboro.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Riverdale. So I was on the south side.
Oh, shoot.
That's why I was curious where you're from.
Wait, where do you think, which high school do you think I went to?
Well, okay, this is what I'm curious of is how old you are because that puts you possibly at Siegel.
You're so funny. No.
Okay. Blackman?
So I'm 31, so Blackman.
Blackman. Yes. Okay, that was my second guess. I was like, it's either Siegel or Blackman.
That's actually an honor for those listening. They know what's up.
Oh, yeah.
Siegel
you know.
Like, that we called that that was the Ritzy high school.
Siegel
that was no
cool kids went to Siegel.
Right, no.
That is true though.
It was.
But they were youngins too, like for me.
Right, so how old are you?
I'm 38. I'll be 39 in March.
Okay. Just trying to
think 04. This was my 20-year reunion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had the reunion in September.
Did you okay, so you
I was class president, so I hosted it. I actually hosted it as my artist name now. So I was like SB the Queen hosts.
That's
the 20-year reunion.
That's something I totally would have done, but I was not class president, so didn't get to do that. That is so cool.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Okay.
Have you ever been to the Cedar Glades Brewery?
Yeah,
that's where it was.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so we had the game. We had like refreshments before the game.
Yeah.
It rained. It was during the hurricane.
Oh,
Helene,
man.
So
wait, is Cedar Glades, is it like out? Like you kind of have to go out a little bit?
No,
like,
that's Hop Springs.
That's Hop Springs.
The
okay,
ones
so
on
we
your
had
road
ours
there.
at Hop Springs.
Oh, okay.
The 10-year
that's
or whatever.
That's a nice place.
And it was fine.
Was your 10-year fun? I loved my 10-year reunion.
No, it was just basic, man. It was like...
Well, Hop Springs was real chill.
Yeah, it was super chill.
We had our tenure at the embassy.
But like, okay.
And that's like don't talk about what happened at the embassy.
But see, that at least sounds like a party. This one, when I rolled up, people were sitting at picnic tables. Okay.
Yeah, Hop Springs is kind of like dad vibes.
Yes, but it was just like it was in high school.
Oh.
Who's sitting at this table, then who's sitting at that table.
Well, are your people cool?
And what'd you say?
Well, are your people cool?
But like none of my friends went. So it was like, no offense to those who were there. People were nice. They were like, I saw you online.
Oh, man. People are watching this now and they're like, she was sad I wasn't there.
No. It was my friends that they told me, because a lot of my friends like moved away.
Yeah.
And so the ones who I actually am friends with still from high school, like, is very few. And also they were like, I'm not coming in for that.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated high school in 11.
11.
Yeah,
okay.
11. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say if you knew anybody from Riverdale, but because when I danced competitively.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so like we had people
like
from
on the
Siegel.
dance team?
Well, so we had dance team at school and then danced for DanceWorks.
Yeah.
And so competed.
That's
and so
cool.
But we had people from Riverdale, Siegel, but around my age. So that's why I was like,
I didn't know if you were half-timers.
Oh man. We did like dance team at school, which was before it was cool. Like y'all had like the hip hop like actual
so fun.
We didn't have that.
Yeah.
I had like anyway, whatever. It was good though. I enjoyed it.
We were just laughing about. I was telling my husband about how Riverdale basketball games were like going to the club.
Exactly.
It was wild.
But Blackman was not
much
like that. So it was just like that was.
Blackman opened my sophomore year.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like we had the people that started freshman year, and then it was like, oh, they went to Blackman, and it was like we never saw them again except a football game.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah, because we were like rivals.
Yeah, yeah.
So funny. But yeah, so you grew up in the borough, and then and so when you graduated, did you go to college?
I went to MTSU.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I gotcha. I went to
Yes.
UT Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
and but I had a lot of friends who went to MT. And so how was that? What did you study?
My bachelor's degree is in agribusiness and agri-science.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
With a minor in Spanish, and then I went back and got my master's in education. So I taught Spanish for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. So ESL, Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were a teacher locally. So
Yeah, I taught at Eagleville.
Okay.
Yeah, in Rutherford County.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then from there, was that when you decided, like, what made you decide to get into what you're doing now?
Okay, so I met my husband, Smo, who he was the artist, Big Smo. The night I met him, he had not gone through his brand change yet.
Okay.
And it was like the last day. It was like the last day of teaching, and you know that stupid 2-hour day that they make you go the very last day of school. And your teacher listeners will understand, like, would disdain that stupid 2-hour day.
Yeah.
So it was like all day. We're like, we cannot wait to go out tonight. And so we went to Bar Louie.
Yep.
We're sitting at Bar Louie, and I'm sitting there with one of my other Spanish teacher friends, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think that's Big Smo. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And I was like, so I filled him in on what, and he was like, oh wow. And then we got to talking about it with the table behind us, because you know Bar Louie, like, you know, as the night progresses on, each table becomes more of everybody's table. We were getting to know everybody that night. And they're like, oh yeah, I think we know who he is. Isn't he on like TV and stuff? And I was like, oh my gosh, y'all don't even know.
Yeah.
This is like local star here. And so they end up going and being like, these girls want to meet you, to Smo. And he comes over to the table. He's like talking to these ladies, and I'm just standing there waiting. And he's like, oh, where have you been all my life? And I just said, I'm not with them.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so funny, you guys who are watching and listening. Like, so her husband's here right now. So he's like, here. So he'll be another episode.
Yeah, I'm always like, where?
So no, but it's hilarious because I'm interested to understand if like that's how he remembers that night. You know what I mean? Like,
well, he remembers me being very drunk.
Oh, okay, got
because
it.
he very much was not.
Oh, okay, got you. So you're like, we're already in it.
Oh yeah, that was dollar beers at Bar Louie night, and the last day of teaching high school. So I was definitely.
You were like, we're celebrating.
Yeah, we were pre-gaming to go karaoke. So.
Oh my gosh, turning up in the borough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the true style. That. So yeah. We just ended up talking and talking and talking, and I was like, this is too crazy.
Well, and before, when we got on, you had said something about that you got married at an older age. How old did you get married?
I didn't meet Smo until I was almost 30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's ancient. Like,
well,
I can't
and then, I mean, we didn't get married,
like...
you know, we've just been celebrating our 5 years saying we're married, and then, you know, now we're like officially tied the knot. So like, traditionally, I would say 38 is pretty old to get married your first time.
I got you.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't have kids, and I have a cat, so you know people make all sorts of assumptions.
Right? No, 100. Trust me, I don't even have a cat.
Yeah,
so
see?
there's that.
That means you don't have a litter box, so you're lucky.
Yeah, no, that's not for me at this time. The dog across the street is like my dog, basically. Yeah, so I just like,
you don't want those commitments.
I just
take it from
back
me.
And
you
like,
don't want those commitments.
But yeah, so
sometimes I think children are even easier than animals.
Really?
I mean, if you think about some things, at some point you can actually leave them by themselves.
Right,
and they
100%.
can feed themselves at some point.
So, well, tell me this. So when you met, and then was it like, because he was in his like music stuff, right? And then you're a school teacher. So then what made you start the food trailer? Like, what?
Okay, so I was teaching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was teaching, and it was starting to get like really complicated, most of all with our schedules, because he was touring and I was teaching, and that is like night and day of what our schedules would be, because I was gearing up to go teach on Mondays and he'd be pulling in the driveway late Sunday night. And so it was like we weren't seeing each other, the quality of time that we were spending, we were dividing our energy, you know, and he was like, you could come work for me and we can build our empire together, you know.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Because I was wasting my energy on a lot of external forces, you know. And it was for the good of other people, but through that, I was losing myself a lot, and it was costing our relationship. And, you know, so it was one of those things that he was like, if you could come work for me, you know, and I was doing so many things administrative, you know, for him anyway, that it was like I was doing 2 jobs anyway. And we didn't know, we didn't know what was down the pike with COVID.
Yeah.
And so I ended up in 2019, he was like, just come on the road with me. So I got to go on tour as the merch girl.
Okay.
And then, so we spent a year on the road in a bus touring around,
Wow.
going and doing shows. And then ultimately I wound up on stage with him. So then we're out singing together.
Okay.
And then I ended up recording. So we have songs together and music videos. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we have about, I would say, 2-3 years of like touring that we got to do.
Wow.
At least that I would on the summer trips, or fall break trips, anything that I could slide in. Sometimes I'd take off and go to a mud park.
Okay. Wow.
Wherever it was that he was going to be, I'd just get to go.
You're just
and
like, let's show up.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and it was just one of those things that I talked to everyone around me and they were like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And so I love teaching. But the group that was graduating was they were my favorite group.
Right.
So it was like I got to leave on a high note when I was still loving it and still, and I didn't know it was my last year, so I feel like I treated it like I was giving it my best effort thinking I would be back,
Right. So that was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
And then the pandemic hit, entertainment was nothing, we were the first thing canceled. So we got in touch with our healthier selves. Smo had heart surgery, and he'll talk about all that, his health transformation. But together, I had already been on a path since 2017 that at that time, I was like a size 16, 18.
Okay.
I was like 230.
Yeah.
It was the most I weighed. I'm sure I weighed much more if I had gotten on a scale at some of those times. But I just remember sitting in the Publix parking lot going in to get my groceries for the week. And I was just sobbing on the phone with my mom because I was like, I don't know how to fix what's happening to me, and I was in my early 30s and I was like, I have got to do something because everyone says it just gets harder, you know?
Right.
And I was in the belief at that point in my life that I was genetically predisposed for all these things. And I think it was becoming self-fulfilling prophecy, that
because
I
your
came
parents
from a
were-
big line, I was a big girl and all these things. And I had grown up always a bigger girl. So through the journey from 2017 to 2019, I had gotten some things like a meal prep program that I had learned portion control and I'd lost about 60 pounds. So when the pandemic hit, for some people it was a turning point from bad to worse. And then for others, they were on a good track and they were able to.
Right.
So I feel like we were very gracious and thankful for the time off to really turn into ourselves.
Yes.
And we had 2 huge gardens. We went plant-based.
Okay.
So in January, even before people were reporting, COVID and things like that publicly like it was, I had watched The Game Changers on Netflix, and it was like, don't eat meat. And I was like, that was the one thing I never tried,
Right, yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And he was on a duck hunt, and he came home with all these ducks, and I was like, I'm not eating that. And I was like, and I think if you watch that, you won't either.
Oh my gosh, duck is my favorite though. Like I never have it, but like literally, yeah.
I mean, this is coming from somebody like I said. I have a degree in agriculture. Like I've milked cows, I've castrated pigs, I culled chickens. Like I've done.
Oh my gosh.
I've done all the nasty. Like I grew up milking cows, so it's like a weird,
And it never bothered you up until you watched that.
Do you know what movie she's talking about?
No.
It was like, it went kind of viral that when it came out, one of my friends I was working out with at the time, he came to the gym talking about how he was going to totally change
You
his
gotta
diet.
watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't
top to
watched it,
bottom,
I don't know if I want to watch
all this
it.
other
Like,
stuff. So, yeah, it was
I was like,
a-
meat's my thing, man.
I know.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
thing.
okay.
So, and it was just one of those things. Like I said, it was the only thing that I hadn't tried because I had done eating right for your blood type.
Yes.
I had done portion control. I had done fasting. I had done, and not to say none of those things didn't work.
Right.
But I was just to a point where I was like, okay, this is the only thing I haven't tried. Let's try this.
Yeah.
And then like within the 3rd or 4th day, I felt so different.
Okay.
And then I went through like a psychological change. I think I read a lot of stuff just talking about women and oppression and the nurturing spirit and things like that. That I just had this flip in my mind of like, I just don't want to do that anymore. And so then it went from being health focused to being more spiritual.
I love that.
And then I've just like stayed on that path ever since. So
That's amazing.
And then from there we found more refinement. So we quit eating oil, we quit eating gluten, and now do whole food. I try to do as much raw as possible, but like I love potatoes.
Yeah,
so I'm not
yeah.
gonna eat raw potatoes.
Right.
And I try, to get as much raw in and things like that. But we're very pro make your own food for yourself.
Right.
Know what's in it.
Yeah.
Try to know where it came from.
Okay.
So.
I love that. So when you, because I want to backtrack for a second.
Yeah.
When growing up, you said because your family wasn't health conscious, like that at all. Like they were kind of.
Yeah, it
just like country,
it was the
like
90s.
Yeah.
Of like Slim Fast.
Yes. Yeah.
And Weight Watchers and
Yeah.
Jenny Craig and like this apple and banana have this many calories,
Yes.
but this, bowl of Special K only has, and so it's
Right.
like I feel like I was raised on the quantity of calories over the quality of the calories.
100%, yes.
And I now have tried to shift my mindset of like look for God-made products.
Right.
Things that come naturally from the earth.
Okay.
And those are going to be your quality calories.
Right.
And I mean, I'm from like I grew up in the heroin chic era,
Right.
like those early 90s things, the body dysmorphia and what I view as fat and things like that is like very different than what younger generations and different generations look at things. So it's like, I really struggle with, I don't know what was healthy growing up, because I feel like a lot of things were a lie.
100%.
But
also, yes, but also told to us because of a narrative that needed to be played out.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes,
mean? And
absolutely.
to sell and all of that. So I
Absolutely.
definitely understand that. And so I love that you have been able to lean into that and come out with a different approach, because some people haven't.
I've experienced all of it. I used to do when Anna Nicole Smith had those little shots. They were basically like coffee creamer.
Yes.
Woo! And like I took the Dr. Diet pills and I went and got the prescription that basically is like, you're taking speed to lose weight,
Yes.
And so I've experienced so many things that at the moment seemed very easy, but now I look at my lifestyle and I'm like, this is so much easier.
Right.
It's so much easier to eat a banana than to get my SnackWells, So, but I can definitely see how it brainwashed me too, or conditioned me, because I sometimes find myself reaching for a bar. Like I'd rather eat a bar than make something and eat it. So I definitely am from the like fast food convenience.
Well, and growing up in the borough too.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I mean, because I tell people all the time that now
Juice,
live there.
good food and fun.
Oh my gosh, literally.
Leslie's a fried
And now
food.
there's two of them. So
and I used to work at La Siesta on Church Street.
are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes, so I worked in the bar at La Siesta when I was in grad school, MTSU.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
yeah, I mean, I had free range on a Mexican restaurant kitchen.
They're like, take whatever you want. Like that's cool.
I was drinking margaritas and serving people.
gosh.
Sorry, Luce. But yeah.
No, I definitely. We went to Camino to get margaritas.
Oh
at a young
man.
age. Like,
Man.
it's
No.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because I asked that because like people today will be like, oh, the borough's not that bad. I'm like, back then though, there was not Clean Eats. There wasn't Core Life. There wasn't any
Juicies.
type of,
We never would have known Juicies.
Yeah, you went to Subway if
Yeah.
you wanted to be healthy.
Oh, we were just having
Like-
this talk the other day of like how many times have I eaten Subway thinking I was doing myself a favor? And like
100%.
I'm sure it was probably better than like a Big Mac, but I
Yeah.
ate those too.
Right, exactly. No, it was like double
It went
cheeseburger
like-
at night.
Yeah,
Subway
it was
lunch.
like I'll have Subway for a light lunch.
Yes, no, literally.
And then I'm gonna go to Buster's.
Exactly. Like when I think about that right now, I'm like, wow, it really was like Subway for lunch, McDonald's for dinner.
Yeah.
Like that was
And
like
I don't know if I don't know if you were into drinking ever, or if you're but the drinking
anymore.
culture in Murfreesboro is very prevalent.
Like
it's
right
a
now, you're
it's a
saying?
drinking town.
Okay.
I mean, it's just Gentleman Jones. We got Clean Gems, Dirty Gems. Stampede was like it, So,
yeah.
yeah, and then.
gosh, yeah.
The Revolver. If anybody watching this remembers the Revolver, then you know. Yeah, that was it was very short lived, but it was very wild while it was around.
It's also a college town. You got a
I
huge
know,
university
yeah.
there.
I mean,
say say that, but like I don't know.
I'm saying like population wise.
Oh well, yeah.
Like, it's one of the biggest.
It's huge.
For a long time, for like 20 years, it was the
And
most.
like, here's the
biggest
thing:
student
it may
population.
not have the enthusiasm of UT Knoxville, but you get a bunch of Blue Raiders together on game day,
right.
and in a very concentrated dose, it
and
is
it
very
is true.
high blood alcohol content.
Right, and that's what's so crazy. I never went to an MTSU game, and then but when I would come back home for like to visit and stuff, my friends, because they all had like apartments and whatever. I mean, it was like the whole block is like going from like one room or going to the next, and just like wild. But
Dirty Murph's lit.
So, yeah.
It is.
So, well, that's what I wanted to ask you. So, okay, so now you're in Unionville, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so, but your family's still in Murfreesboro, or?
Yeah, so I grew up in Christiana, technically.
Okay,
so I'm on like the way south side of Murfreesboro. So like we would say going to town was like referring to Murfreesboro.
See, and that's how like, so my parents' house is like near like Arrington.
Oh yeah,
so when I
yeah.
Was, cause,
well,
look,
then you're close to us where we live now.
Okay.
Because we're just on the other side of Eagleville.
Okay, yeah, that's right over there. But like, so when people would say, because I say I'm going to town, they're like, Danny, you don't live outside. Like, you live, I'm like, it says Murfreesboro city limits before I get there.
And
like,
that's
it's like
town.
It's 5 minutes to say then Murfreesboro. So technically,
It's town.
yeah. And then there wasn't the Kroger there, so you had to go to the other Kroger. Like,
well,
there
and
was
Arrington
nothing.
used to be out there.
Yeah.
It's only most recently been developed.
Right.
Even so, more than I would say Christiana.
Yeah.
Because the south side, has been moving its way up into town for a while now. But
yeah.
that's cool.
But yeah.
But for you too, it would probably be about the halfway to go to Franklin or to go to Murfreesboro.
Exactly.
Did you run around in Franklin a lot?
Well, so no, I didn't, because I actually and here's the thing. So basically like with them being out right there or whatever, I never went to Franklin, never Williamson County, none of that. It was literally like because I don't know if you know where like Bill Rice Christian Academy.
Yeah.
That's where I went to
on
school.
96.
Yeah.
Ah,
So like that's near
okay,
where they are.
yeah.
So basically like I went to school there up
I
until
go by there all the
7th
time.
grade, and then I went to Blackman because it had opened up. So 7th grade, and then so it was like Christian school to then public school and all that. But I was always in town because we go dance, and so I would just dance all night and then come back home and whatever.
Where was your favorite place to go eat in Murfreesboro?
Well, where we went to go eat. Well, okay. Well, I'll say this. I loved after dance practice we go to Demas's.
Oh, I love Demas's. Those rolls. Those rolls.
My soup though.
It'll cure anything. It'll cure
I got my wisdom
anything.
teeth out,
Yeah.
And somebody brought me a quart of soup, and I
Cure
was
the
like,
flu.
I was fine. Okay.
Cure anything.
So, exactly. So that one I would say, but no, the place we went to a lot was Cracker Barrel.
Oh yeah.
That's literally where I introduced.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
So Cracker Barrel, yeah, because that was like our family dinner meal. But what would happen is it'd be like me, my mom, and my brother. My brother's about 14 years older than me.
Oh, yeah.
And so I looked really little. So our waitress we'd always have, her name's Micah. And we were like, we would just always talk to her, right? Long story short, and finally, I said something to her, and I was like, my brother. She thought, because my brother looked older, my mom looked young, that I was their kid.
Oh.
So she wanted to always hit on him, but she was like, he's married, they got a kid, like, this is not it.
She didn't get the dynamic.
Right. And so then finally, she realizes, and so then my mom gave my brother, my mom gave her my brother's number. And I'm like, Vicky, she's going to watch this. I'm like, Vicky, what are you doing?
Did they get together?
Yes. So, yeah. So they've been married and they have
They're still together?
They have 4 kids. Yeah.
Oh, my
And they live
God.
out on a farm in Shelbyville. Yeah. So anyway,
That's a cool story.
right? But I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But the car. So that's our whole joke of like that's where we went for like years, and then like
That is so funny.
yeah, and so that's how they got together. But anyway, so that's probably what I would say.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Yeah,
So what she didn't mention is that Danny lets him know about it every single time that she can. That she's the reason why he has the wife that he has.
Yeah. But I'm just saying because I was super friendly. I was a connector at like 6 years old.
Networking.
And I'm like, what have y'all been
You
doing
baited her.
for me to like set me up on a date? Like, can we make that happen? Like,
Yeah.
no, but
That's
anyway.
cool.
But yeah, but it was sweet. But
cool.
so what's your favorite place? Where'd you like to eat? Where were you?
Oh, man. In Murfreesboro. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of choices. Back in those days.
yeah.
You know, I really miss going to eat at the Goat. That sounds so silly. Did you
I
ever?
don't even think I went there.
The
Oh, wait, no,
Goat.
I think I went one time.
Yeah, over
actually,
medical center. That would have been the most recent, but like old school Murfreesboro. I'm with you on Demas's. That and Don Pablo's. Did you ever go to Don
Pablo's
Pablo?
slapped. We would eat that.
Whatever that corn mush
The
was.
corn mush. What was the corn?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's like some uncooked
No.
cornbread batter.
It was, but it was so good, and that was like what
And
I
they
went
let me
there
drink
for.
underage a long time.
Yes.
You could
Oh,
always
yeah.
drink underage at Don Pablo. They did
Dude,
not care.
Like, that is so funny. I forgot about that place.
I love Don
Like,
Pablo's.
the fajitas, the corn, it was the whole thing. But
Santa Fe, that was a good one.
yes. So tell me this. So then when you got into so you had 2020 was what
Yes.
happened, okay? And
Yes.
then did y'all kind of reevaluate and you're like, okay, so instead of going on tour and stuff because we can't do that right now,
Mm-hmm.
is that when the like idea for the food food truck?
Okay, so through that is when we started eating plant based, and Smo's always been all about food with his brand, and I've always had interest in food.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always liked to cook, and so it's just one of those things that we were always creating new things.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to figure out how to make honey mustard without honey because we weren't going to
Okay.
eat honey, or
Okay.
how could we make ketchup ourselves, or how
Yeah.
could we make different things. So we're always experimenting. Smo's really good with tofu, so we
Okay.
had never really
Yeah.
eaten tofu before, so
Right.
we were just whipping up different things. And with sharing music, we'd always had the website and
Yeah.
the social platforms. Well, then it was like, well, let's put some recipes out and see what people do. And
Okay.
he had a recipe book with his mom with the kind of cooking that he had before he had his heart surgery.
Okay.
And so pushing food in his lifestyle, there was like YouTube cooking videos and stuff with his family. So it
Right.
wasn't anything new for his fan base to see food as a part of the
Okay,
brand.
so kind of integrated.
Yeah,
pretty
so now
seamlessly.
it was kind of like, okay, well, you can take this old quick chick recipe and now make it in the healthy version. So before we even went plant based, we were doing it with like Greek yogurt and corn flakes
Love
and
that.
more cleaner ingredients, I would say.
Right.
And then through that, when we transitioned to whole food,
Mm-hmm.
plant based, we've been able to be like, okay, this is how you can make your tofu kind of taste like chicken. And
Okay.
so through sharing all this, we had realized in Shelbyville there are no options for the kind of
Correct.
food and the
Yes.
kind of way that we want to live. And to go back into touring, when we eased back into touring, we just realized that a lot of the things that we were having to participate in weren't aligned with our lifestyle, like the lack of sleep and always being in a dark, dingy room during the day waiting for the show at night. We were wasting the beautiful sunlight in the day that we had gotten so spoiled in 2020. We were outside all day and, and then we were around drunk people all the time when we were on the road. So it was just things that at the merch table, instead of wanting to talk about music, people wanted to fix themselves and they wanted to figure out how they could feel better. And so I think a lot of people saw, and people had seen my transformation, because I lost 100 pounds. And so through that, people have been able to relate, of like, okay, maybe if they can do it, we can do it, because our goal is to strive to be so authentic with our message that
100%.
literally, if I did it, you can do it.
Yes, which I love.
And the
Yeah.
people that really know me are like, no, she did it. Like, there's no excuse. So, we really started using his platform to use, for the better of sharing the message for people to feel better ultimately. And through that, we started using better ingredients and tried to talk more positively and, and we just sharing all the recipes and all the things and realizing there was nowhere to eat.
Yes.
We had a little experience where we got to spend some time with someone that had a food trailer and we kind of saw the ins and outs. We knew a couple of other people that were in the business. And I mean, YouTube, you can get a degree on YouTube and anything these days. So, Smo was just spending countless hours on YouTube. We were researching and we finally were like, okay, if we really mean this, we need to put a business plan together, figure out what our goals are, where our demographic would be, and, what would be the kind of things that people would need. And everybody likes soup, everybody likes salad, and everybody likes smoothies. So it just went soup, salad, smoothies, and specialty sweets. And so through the refinements that we had, put in place in our own lives, we just basically make for the town what we eat ourselves.
I
So.
love that, and because I will say this, it's like I've mentioned this before on the podcast that like low key have always wanted to have a food truck.
Yeah.
Like have always and thought
and
that was
we
so
talked
cool.
about it too, even, before we were eating healthy,
Right.
we had talked about doing all kinds. We had talked about a Mexican-Italian fusion, like all these silly things.
Well, because that's the thing is like, cause I actually trained a couple clients who had food trucks and stuff. And so they told me about the ins and outs of it, all the things. I'm like, man, that'd be so cool. But it was just the fact of like, no one ever had a healthy food truck.
Right.
Ever. So for me, especially with being in bodybuilding and stuff for years, like I would be out in prep and then I can't have anything or chose not to, but like wasn't able to have anything out with anybody. I'm like, man, how many people feel the same way? How cool would it be if there was even one that had just cleaner ingredients or some macros listed? Or hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing to the LYB podcast and for always sharing this mission with everyone that you know. Thank you so much for my clients, for my challengers, for all my guests on the podcast. I appreciate you all so much. We have the Get Your Movement In Challenge starting January 6th, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Lots of fun prizes. I'm very just so impressed and grateful for everyone who did the last challenge. You guys crushed it. And it's going to be great. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at danny@dannydfitness.com, as well as make sure you're following on all social media at DannyFitness1.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah Beth Lewis. You can follow me at SB the Queen Music on Instagram, and you can find mine and my husband Smo's food trailer at Smolicious Eats.
That's always been a thing of like that I've wanted to do. So I think that's so cool that you guys did that. So was this like 2021 when you opened, or was it later?
Oh, we just opened this year.
Oh, you just opened
April.
this year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
well, congrats.
We toured after 2020. We toured another year and a half, and then we spent the whole past year doing music videos, touring some more, and then
I love that.
Then we launched on Earth Day this year.
Really? Yeah. Okay, cool. So then how does it like work? Like, is it set up in Shelbyville or okay.
So our season just ended this last weekend.
Okay.
So we had our big Thanksgiving menu, and we had live music in the parking lot.
Cool.
So we launched Earth Day in April, and at the time we were doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
7 to 5, so 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
We have a commercial commissary kitchen at our house, so we have like a mini barn that some friends of ours helped us turn it into a commercial kitchen. It's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, it was so cool. And so, because we didn't realize when you have a food trailer, if you can't prepare everything on the trailer, you have to have a commissary kitchen.
Yeah.
And so that was like one of those little things that we were like, shoot. Somebody failed to mention that.
Right. Yeah, but a lot of people don't know unless you know somebody that's done it. And
and they are available for rent, but with our location being further out and with the product that we provide, we didn't want to, you know, you don't want to compromise anything with contamination and stuff when you are telling people that this is certified gluten-free. Yeah. This is plant-based, you know.
That's huge, because a lot of my girls that I train are celiac and like gluten-free as well. And so, and it's so challenging for them because no one really takes it seriously for them. And they literally will have flare-ups where they come in and they're like, I can barely move. Like my pots, all my stuff is like flared up. Like I can't, you know, so then it's like we're adjusting the workouts. We're trying to maneuver around it and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, and then your body is constantly in fighting something.
Yes.
If you have inflamed your system, then you're constantly in recovery.
Right.
And you're not able to build if you're constantly repairing.
Yes.
And that, I think that's not what people don't think over time, because they're like, oh, moderation. Oh, you can have it here and there. But if whatever you're eating is hurting you and you're never healing that hurt, that underlying just little bit of inflammation over time is eventually going to well into something much bigger.
Well, and that, even with that mindset, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, well, when I lose this weight, I can have this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, when I, you know, go out for this, it's a special occasion. It's Thanksgiving, so I can have. And so it's like, no, sis, like that's not what that means. Like,
well, and when you look at it from an even broader picture, from that looking down on into it, and you see that you're using food as a reward and not viewing food as fuel, then there's even another layer of, and that was something I really had to work through, was looking at my food as fuel, and it's not a little treat, and it's not a reward. And, you know, I still say and do things like, but the awareness of I need to eat the quality fuel for the output that I desire, not for the taste that I'm looking for. Because when you eat with taste, your output is never going to be what you want it to be,
100%.
versus when you look for the things that your body actually needs.
Right.
So.
Well, so for people listening, they're probably going to wonder this. But so in terms of with the 100-pound weight loss, right? Was there movement involved? Like,
okay, that's really cool that you asked that, because I was actually thinking about when I was actually thinking about the things that I would want to talk to you about, because it is interesting that even when I was my biggest, I was probably more active than I am even on some of my days now. Because I was an avid salsa dancer. I love Latin dance, so I love line dancing.
Yes.
And so when I was single, I was going out all the time with
Those
my
nights at Whiskey
friends.
Dick's.
Yeah, oh yeah, but Whiskey Dick's didn't come around until I was a little older, so
you didn't miss anything.
I've definitely been one of the older crowd at Whiskey Dick's before. I used to wear out Broadway in Nashville before it became Bachelorette Paradise.
Back in the good old days, I'm sure.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
was nice,
20 plus years, 20 years ago, it was in its heyday. But so I look back, had my diet been aligned and those times, I think I was literally just burning off as much as I could to just stay at that one. Because, I mean, I'd dance all night long, but I'd also drink all night long.
Right.
And I'm like, what if I hadn't been drinking then? Like, what would the benefit of my nights out been? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with going out.
Right.
I personally do not drink, and I advocate for others not to, just because I know what it's like as a non-drinker, how wonderful it is, having felt like I wasted a lot of time drinking, but I think back in like the times that, I was out dancing a lot. You were a dancer, so dancing is very liberating and it's very positive. So I think back in those times, if I hadn't have been drinking and then eating Paradise Park corn dogs,
right? For
because I was
sure.
definitely getting my steps in on Broadway.
And 100%. But that's the whole thing too. Is like I would dance literally hours. I mean, 6 hours every day. And yet I wouldn't have a sip of water until the end of the night when I would drink from the gallon that they had, and I would pretty much drink a gallon straight right there.
Man, can you imagine if you had been born in the generation where they taught us to drink water?
Yeah,
I don't remember drinking water.
No, it wasn't.
It's
and
like Fruitopia.
Literally, like I drank Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah,
that was the vibe. Mountain
Sonic,
Dew.
did you wear Sonic out?
Oh my gosh, so this is so funny. So yes, Sonic. I would go there, but to be healthy, quote unquote, I would have like a blue Powerade slush.
Ooh.
But right,
Yeah.
but it had so much sugar. It's not healthy, and literally, and so.
And what color? How they get that blue color? How they do that?
But I would never question that because there was such a disconnect.
Was sold to us as a sports hydration drink.
And there was such a disconnect for me, like in terms of like no one. So for me, like a little bit to tell you, like so danced was doing great, rock and roll and whatever. I got sick. I had acid reflux. Ended up, putting on a lot of weight. And then they were like, it'll come off. Like don't worry about it. But they didn't realize the food that I was eating. I'm having ramen noodles. I'm doing tuna helper. And then I would go from like dance to this. So it was like whoever just was taking me to dance and stuff, I would get me Subway and then Chick-fil-A or whatever. And so with that though, it was just that like, I mean, I worked out, I did all these things, but again, it didn't match what I was eating and having 2 liters of soda every day. So it's like, again, that's, it wasn't that I became obese or anything. I just wasn't, my best, but no one ever talked about it until I started looking different. Then it became one of those things where like, let's say you and me here are eating the same exact thing, but then it was like, okay, well, they were like, well, Danny, maybe you need to have like a salad. But I'm like, no, but like me and Sarah Beth, like we're having the burgers. Like we've done this for years. But maybe you should have the salad. So I'm over here kind of trying to put 2 and 2 together. Not
Do you
understanding.
have sibling? Oh yeah,
so I have the older brother.
Yeah.
But he at this point was gone.
He's older.
Yeah, so he's already married.
I have an older sister and a younger brother, and neither of them had weight issues. But being in the middle, and I did. Obviously, I was doing something wrong and different than my siblings. And I don't even really know if that was the case or if we're just built differently.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing too, is that again, it all comes back down to metabolism and different things like that. And what medication can do and literally change at that. I mean, that was like puberty for me. Like at that time where I was already going to be changing. and then just like slap that on top, right? So that literally that changed the I feel like that changed the outcome of what my life ended up being.
Right.
You know, now again, wouldn't go back or whatever because it brought me here. Right.
Yeah.
And which has been a blessing and been beautiful. But it is one of those things of like, I don't take it as like, oh, people are so dumb for not knowing about any of this stuff because again, we had to live through it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like having that actual experience and being able to like, okay, like help people to understand.
Yeah.
So I love that you guys are doing that with having the food, you know, food truck and everything like that. So with that, like, are you guys, so you said you closed over season.
Yeah, we closed for the season.
Okay.
We travel during the holidays.
Okay.
So between travel and family and all the different commitments and everybody else's commitments, you know, it's getting to like potluck season and things like that we don't want our customers to feel like, you know, they can't participate or, you know, aren't making the choice between us or them, you know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We were like, you know, we've got a lot going on. They've got a lot going on. It's hard to run the trailer in the cold.
I was about to say, so then when do you open back up? When
back in the spring. So we'll be back in springtime.
So when you do that, like, is it pretty much, because you said the hours were like 7 to 5.
Yeah, they were originally.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, so do you,
and we were doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay.
And then with that schedule, we just realized we had no time.
Yeah.
With it being just the two of us and doing a fresh product.
Yeah.
You do have to shop a lot. And then a lot of preparation goes into that. And then the storage and all of that. So we decided to go down to Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
And then we adjusted our hours. So with the time change, we moved our hours.
Yeah.
And we just tell everybody, follow us on Facebook.
Yeah.
You'll see where we are and what we're doing.
So, well, and that's the thing too. I think that, I mean, you're in the first year of business.
Yeah.
Right. So you're figuring it out, figuring what the consumer wants, right? Like, and figuring like where the peak times and all that is. I love that, and adapting and everything. So do you look back at it and like, you know, even like your friends who've known you for like years like that, like, was this like the last thing that you thought that you'd be doing, like kind of thing? Or was it like you kind of saw this heading there?
It was one of those things I've always hoped it would happen.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the movie Chef? You need to watch that. If you like food trailers, you need to see that.
Is it wait, who's in it? Do you know, like, actor off the top of your head?
It's,
'cause I love
he's
movies.
in Grown Up. Isn't he in Grown Ups?
Oh, I don't
Grown
know. He was laughing. That's okay. I'll look it up
like
later.
A fat, grumpy guy. Is how I think. And that Joe Logizamo or whatever. I can't say his name, but I love him.
Okay.
But it's basically a guy he's a chef and he gets a bad food review.
Okay.
He ends up opening a food truck and then it's like all to get back at the critic. It's really good.
Okay.
So I love that movie because I was like, it just like had inspired me.
Yeah.
And we, you know, Smo had a brick and mortar in Bell Buckle, and we had talked about doing like barbecue plates. And every time we would always try like that back when, you know, we did eat meat and stuff. And he had a barbecue sauce. So we always like working with food.
Yeah.
And even before.
John Favreau.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah, that movie, you got to watch that movie if you like food trucks.
For sure.
And we've always had an interest in food. And then when I started doing the meal prep program, it was called Sensible Meals at the time. It was out of Louisiana.
Okay.
If you know who Tyrus on the news, on Fox News, Tyrus Mash.
Okay.
His wife, Ingrid, she had owned it.
Okay.
And I was really into like, this is a mom who wants to change lives. She had lost like 150 pounds.
Okay, wow.
And she had always been into fitness, but was always a bigger girl. And I always liked that about her. Because, you know, you were talking about my movement. Like, I always did Zumba.
Yeah.
And I worked out at MTSU.
Okay.
I went to Bill Taylor's karate school.
Man, okay, yes. I know people who went there for sure.
Kickboxing with Cindy.
Yes, exactly. Like,
so,
oh my
like,
gosh.
I was always active, even though I was a bigger girl. And so I was really inspired that Ingrid was really big on fitness, really big on eating right. So I was moving. I will say I wasn't consistent with my workouts and routine until I lost about 50 or 60 pounds.
Okay.
And then that's when I was like, oh, like I'm able to do all of this.
Yeah.
And I can do whatever. I do have a back problem that I didn't find out about till I was older. So I have spondylolisthesis.
That's what I have.
Oh, you do too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
a spondy.
Yeah. Yeah, spondy.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a grade 4.
Yeah.
Whoop, slip.
Wait, a grade 4?
Yeah, all the way, baby.
Ooh.
My
How
flight
did you slip?
kinesiologist.
How
For reference, what is?
Yeah,
I'm assuming
So
you're not a grade 4.
L5 and S1 are like
So this is what happened to me. So with strongman when I was doing,
You got
Oh,
okay.
yours was an injury.
so yeah,
interesting.
so mine was okay. So I had a hairline fracture when I was 14 because I was doing aerials and stuff like that from dance.
yeah.
Okay, so my hip shifted, whatever, and that right there, it mended and that was fine. But they always said like you're gonna have some back issues
Yeah.
as you grow up.
Yeah.
Well, that went out the door when I was doing strongman competitions. So I was lifting for 405 pounds, carrying the frame down and back, which I'd done a million times. But the handles were low. When I lifted up, vertebrae shifted forward, crushed the disc, and then from here down
Your legs
was
quit.
numb for 3 years. So I just, and even right now,
She finished the lift, by the way.
oh
She-
yeah,
she still did the
I still
carry.
qualify for nationals.
She still did the carry.
But anyway, but I thought that this was something that was going to go away. The numbness, like I was squatting 300 pounds the next week. Like I thought it would just subside.
It's so
Then-
hard to explain to people what that feeling feels
it
like.
is
too.
because I try to tell them because like literally that was when so right when that happened then COVID hit like 2 months later.
yeah.
So then your girl is now doing virtual workouts, trying to like in
Yeah.
pain, trying
Yeah.
to keep business going, doing all the things. We were trying to do more walks,
Yeah.
but like I couldn't get in to see chiropractors, I couldn't get
Yeah.
in to get any help.
Yeah.
But that numbness that I dealt with, they're like, you may deal with this for the rest of your life, and I
Yeah.
was like, unacceptable. I'm gonna do everything I can do. So
Did they try
but-
to get you in for surgery?
So mine, because when it happened and when I actually started taking it seriously, pretty much they were like, it's not severe enough to be like, it was in a grade 4. It
Yeah.
was just a grade 2. So they were like, there's really not like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And for me
Yeah.
to pay out of pocket for that
Oh,
would
yeah.
not
Yeah, no.
be a vibe. And then also too.
Well, and you don't want to start back surgery too young if you don't have to.
And that's what everyone told me. And they're like, look, the numbness could go away,
Yeah.
whatever. And even like right now, like my calf is numb today because I did a little bit of legs earlier. But like, because it shifts and it can move
Yep.
and it's like,
Yep.
and it's so painful. But I've never met someone that like has had a grade 4.
I'll show you my MRI. It's
Oh
crazy.
my gosh.
You wasn't part of that story that like the next day you got like tried to get out of bed and you couldn't move.
Yeah,
can't.
I was
You
hunched
can't.
over after the competition, and I
can't.
was just like, oh, and that's when I remember standing there being like, I messed up. Like
Yeah,
I remember
something's
just
wrong.
something was wrong because I'd had back issues, like back pain
Yeah.
all the time, back pain all the
And
time.
nobody believes you as a child if you say your back hurts.
No.
They look at you like a crazy.
Yeah.
Or they did me anyway.
Well-
I would say my whole life, I was like, my back hurts, my back hurts. And they're like,
Yeah.
you're just little and fat. And
No.
I'm like, well, maybe I'm fat because my back hurts.
Right, like you're like, let's play this out.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, or when did you find that out? Like,
So interesting that you're talking about doing a lift like that.
Yeah.
Because we were doing weightlifting in gym class.
Yeah.
I had started going to a chiropractor when I was in kindergarten.
Okay, wow.
Because when you do that, touch your toes, they were
Yeah.
like, oh, you have really, really bad scoliosis.
Yeah.
So like my S was like starting to curl around where I was starting to
Wow.
curl around. So I started going to a chiropractor like really young.
Yeah.
Also at my kindergarten was the very first time I was told I had high blood pressure and I was obese.
oh my god.
So it's like I'm like, fat,
You're like just-
hypertension.
right, stacking up
yeah, and I'm
on
like,
Oh my
So and I feel like being told those things when you're so little has some sort of impact as well.
Well, how
know?
you see yourself now? You're
Yes,
the FAT
yes,
girl,
yes,
and that's always how it. Yeah.
And so, and like high blood pressure at 5,
Right.
like, oh, I'm stressed out already.
Right.
So,
Oh my god.
Seriously though, to that point, like you were talking about, maybe it's my back. Is the
well, and
it's
I'm like, maybe
high
I should
blood
talk
pressure.
to my mom
Right,
Yeah.
with
like-
me not in the room.
How
Like,
is
I'm
that?
little, but I know what you're saying.
wild
you know?
that they wouldn't
You're saying things
immediately-
are wrong
yeah,
with
that's
me.
nuts.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But no one was taking into account what I was eating
Right.
as my blood pressure.
Yep.
you know?
That's what I'm saying. It's
Because
like,
again, then food was such a disconnect.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
No,
it was
it's,
like people
it
didn't
was
even
such
like.
a foreign.
like you're an
Right.
adult and you like. Do you honestly think that a 5-year-old has high blood pressure from stress?
Right.
Like-
And here's a crazy fun fact. My mom wrote a jingle for Diet Right soda
Oh
and
my
she won. So we won like a year's supply of Diet Right soda.
Wow.
And they delivered it all at one time.
Wow.
So we had like unlimited. I was drinking like
Yeah.
white grape aspertame.
Wow. That is
Like
crazy.
a very little age.
I cannot.
Yeah, so it's like, diet drinks, I feel like when we were really young was like, that's an adult drink.
Yeah.
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 But I was a little kid, like just drinking Diet Right. Like,
Yeah, like
and
it's
thought it was
casual.
okay.
I
'cause,
know.
You know,
Same
and I
thing.
also lived in the country, so we had sulfur water.
Oh,
So I didn't like how
wow.
it tasted. So of course I'm gonna drink sweet
Yeah.
tea and Diet Right, and we're in the South, everybody
And that's
drinks
such
sweet tea.
Yeah,
you
that's such
know.
a good point.
So, but I started going to the chiropractor for that scoliosis.
Okay.
And I went for 20 years, but at 15, we were doing plate carries
Yeah.
and weightlifting. And all of a sudden, my legs just collapsed. Like, I'm talking like
Yeah.
crumbled.
Yep.
Something felt very weird
Yeah.
in my middle, and I just collapsed. And I was like, yelling at the teacher,
Yeah.
which if anybody knows Coach Fields at Riverdale, he takes no jokes.
Oh, my
He's like,
gosh.
get up. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
So when they finally figured out, like, oh, this girl is like kind of semi-paralyzed, they called my mom,
Yeah.
and she took me straight to the chiropractor.
Okay.
And that was the first time they had ever done x-rays, because I was old enough without the thingy.
Yep.
And they were able to see it in there. And he was like, oh, wow. They realized that had just not grown right.
Yeah.
So, and then, through different falls, like
Yep.
dancing and just being clumsy
Yeah.
and playing around and roughhousing, just silly stuff.
Right.
I think I just kind of tipped it over the breaking point, and
yeah.
it just went too far that I ended up having to get an MRI.
Okay.
Like, Smo was having to help me use the bathroom. Like, I couldn't get up and like
Right.
anything, so.
Wow.
With the numbness and stuff, that's a big thing too.
Well, I have an applied kinesiologist now who I found.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone to Mexico. I stepped off a funny curb, turned my ankle, and it was like the ankle on top of that all together. It was like everything locked down.
Oh, no.
So I found this guy. He's an applied kinesiologist. That was the first time I had done that versus going to chiropractor.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when the chiropractor saw my MRI, he was like, I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
And people were scared to touch me.
For sure.
And I went to Vanderbilt spine specialist on Wednesday, and they said, we can get you in for surgery Friday.
Okay.
And something about that just terrified me.
Yeah.
But it also was like, okay, then something bad is wrong with me.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're going to
Finally, someone's taking it seriously.
Yes.
Or like, yeah.
So I was affirmed that something is wrong.
Yeah.
Now I've got to find somebody who can fix it that's
Okay.
not as invasive
Okay.
as surgery just yet. So I was referred to this guy. He's in Nolensville. And my glute was like 60% turned off.
Yep.
My back of my leg. It was like
Yep.
the percentage of what my leg was turned off was basically 100%,
Yeah.
like it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so over time, I was going and getting a lot of adjustments and everything. And I mean, now I hardly ever, like for my
Right.
back, leg, all that to be bothering me, it's got to be something.
Real
I've done
bad.
something crazy.
So
you
what
know?
did he do? Looking.
So he works with your meridians and your muscles.
Okay.
So he like reactivates muscles, and
Okay.
sometimes your muscle fibers can get like this
Yes.
instead of crossing.
Right.
So he helps push them back and recross them. And
Like, this is
You
so
may need to meet
crazy
him.
because
That's honestly what I'm sitting over thinking like you guys didn't even know each other.
yeah.
This is so weird.
Right.
Yeah, we have
But
all
what's
this.
crazy though is because I've been complaining, but also talking about this forever about how my booty, like, so
Yeah.
with bodybuilding, like for the show that I was doing, the whole goal was to get your lower half like more
Yeah.
dominant, and my quads were always popping. They're like, your wellness from the front, you turn to the side, and it's like no, because
Yeah.
my booty. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can't, like,
because your
I'm-
glute's not
the
activated.
glute could not activate.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing deadlifts. I'm still lifting heavy, but I'm like, y'all, like to feel my left glute squeeze and engage, I cannot
can't
get
do
it.
it.
And because
It
of
just
this.
needs to be
And
activated.
it just needs to be activated. And so it's like, again, it has been, I mean, like I said, years, right? So now of like dealing with the numbness and whatever, but it's pretty much subsided, but it's still, even like today, I was doing glute bridge or whatever. And I'm doing it. I have to, literally my entire being has to go into be like left glute, like I have to tell it to squeeze.
Yeah.
It's not
And,
just active.
Some of the things that I've found that really help me when whatever muscle group I'm trying to target it,
Yeah.
I'll give it a good, like
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
coming for you, like get
Literally.
ready, and
100%.
give them a good wake up pinch, or
Yeah.
because it's something really unique when fitness becomes something later in your life that you're interested in, because I think people that have been athletic their whole life take it for granted.
They do. 100%.
Yeah, because I've found that I'm the most athletic now that I've
Yeah.
ever been, as far as, even my whole life in like an intentional way.
So now do you do that because like now that he's told you like kind of the pathways and you're feeling better, has he said like strength training is like something you should keep up?
Oh, absolutely. There's just certain limitations that I have. He doesn't
sure.
like me doing a lot of overhead lifting, like no
'Cause you're gonna arch.
skiing. Well,
Yep.
I'm not going to ski.
Yeah.
But no roller skating, obvi. I'm not going to do that either.
Right, right.
So
You're like, we're
there are
good.
like some activity restrictions.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like me. He's always like don't wear a heavy backpack.
Yeah.
Just, but very pro core strength.
Yes.
Because the stronger your core is, the stronger everything is.
For
Good
sure.
posture. I mean, I'm slouching right now, but
no, I get it.
posture
I
is
got you.
something I try to be very conscientious of.
Yep.
And motion is lotion. I've been dealing with some like oral issues lately that I had to have a little surgery. So that's had me down for the past month. But even through that, I've tried to have an awareness of like the gratitude for being able to move your body,
Girl, 100%.
because and I think how lucky I am compared to what other people's circumstances are. And, talking about your leg being numb and everything, one of the things they told me with the surgery is I may not be able to lift my foot. And I'm like, well, if I can't lift my foot, I can't drive.
Yeah.
And if I can't drive,
Right.
or I may not be able to go to the bathroom normally.
And the pain, they told me that you may still have the pain.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, okay, like, I mean, and I get it, right? Like but yeah. And so again, it's just like, that was not a solution. So I had to do, like, again, changing even the way I sleep, changing, I do Epsom salt baths every night.
Yeah.
Like I go for more walks. Like, there's so
Motion's
many.
lotion with
Yeah.
that.
And you said you saw that you've been following on Instagram for a while. So you saw the challenge, you saw like the steps and everything.
Yeah, I'm going to be super real with you. I have yet to hit 10,000.
That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, if I did, it wasn't documented because I'm the queen of forgetting to reset my thingy, but
you're
or forgetting to wear it all together. I'm like halfway through the day, I'm like, oh, I forgot. I call it's my little egg.
No,
Like,
literally.
I forgot my
Because what
egg.
is it? It's a stepometer or whatever.
Yeah, look how cute this is.
Yeah,
It's
show
$20.
them.
Get you one.
Yeah, but
Well, one of the things that my applied kinesiologist, he hates watches that. He doesn't like the light.
Yes.
He says the constant blinking is very bad for your meridian systems.
100%. Yeah.
But I love knowing how much I'm moving.
The data,
like when
yes.
and it'd be like breathe. And like, oh, thank you for
Yeah,
reminding me. And
right.
like, stand up, okay.
Yes.
Like I'm very good at following instructions.
For sure.
So I did I did enjoy that encouragement and affirmation. I love my rings closing and all that. So this was just a way for me.
Yeah.
My whole 1,000 steps by midday.
Hey, girl, no, like, I mean, someone listening right now is the same place.
Now, if this was an odometer of how many miles I had driven,
Right, it'd be a little different.
They'd think I was a trucker, but
Right. Oh my gosh, I
no,
love that so
but
much.
the walking, not so much. I need a Fred
Well,
Flintstone
but here's
car.
the thing, though. I'll tell you this: that like it was not as like as
Get my
easy.
steps finally.
Like it's not as easy as people think. Because then people
No.
will say, well, like, 10,000, whatever. Like you have to be purposeful and intentional.
Absolutely.
And like so, like I'll walk to the gym. Like I'll like go walk and then like and come back.
Some people think that's not a lot. I was like, I feel like that's 10,000 is a good amount of steps.
but
But
like
it's tough to get.
it is,
if you're
and it
not-
is if you're not. But again, it's about
unless
being
you're, like,
intentional.
have a really-
and
You're not just gonna
Because
accidentally.
I swore, I
Yes.
was like working at the food trailer. I'm hitting my 10,000 easy. I knew it.
right.
But I didn't know it. And then when
Yeah.
I got my step thing and I was
You're like, oh.
this is not even near 10,000. I'm going to have to up my
Yes.
game. And so I think a lot of people too, they think they're being active, but they're not near as active as what they need to
And
be.
then right what you said right there though, it comes down to you have to have a measure. And
Oh,
so many
yeah.
people are so against the measure.
And a
they're
goal.
they're against the measurements of like body composition.
Oh,
they're
no, you
they're
have to
against
measure.
they're against a lot of things. And it's like guys, like that's why having like what I do for my clients, like online programming, having a structure, having things that we can look at like progression.
It's inspiring.
And yeah, but
And it
it
holds you
helps
accountable.
accountable. Exactly.
No, if you don't know what your baseline is, how are you going to know if there's been any improvement or decline?
Y'all, I did not
I was
hire
a teacher.
her. I didn't hire her for this.
I was a
like
teacher.
she
I love data. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me all the numbers.
The only thing I want to throw in there though is that like what you're also talking about is the correct measure, right? Because you don't want them focusing on their weight.
Correct.
Oh, not
Yeah.
always. No.
Yeah. And so
No.
that's the whole thing too of it's like finding those ways. But again, it's like I use this example a lot about the tablespoon of peanut butter or whatever, right? When people are like, oh yeah, do a spoonful of peanut butter. I'm like, okay, but do you know how much that actually
Don't do
is?
that.
You eyeing that is like different than how I would eye that.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Did you-
so it's
did you
probably
put
4
it in a
servings.
tablespoon?
But you see,
Like
and so it's
four?
not to be like obsessive or you weigh everything
No,
or you
it's
this whatever.
awareness.
It's just an awareness
Yeah.
because it's so hard to eyeball that. Like even for those who like probably counted calories most of their life or like whatever. So it's just again another measure to be mindful of.
And I think another thing too is like we live in a time of so much food fear. that we don't trust ourselves.
Correct.
And it's like, trust what you think you know is right, you know, because I think deep down when you listen to your body's going to tell you what it wants.
And also, too, I think that it's because of the food noise and all the things and all the negativity and all the overthinking that, like, it does cloud it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where it's like when you can have options that are even like with you guys with the food trailer and like having, movement options like what I do and stuff like that, like that it allows that freedom in that to be like, okay, I trust this person. I trust this brand. I trust this business, like that they're going to be able to offer a service that is something that I just am not aware of yet.
Right.
And like, if we would have had that growing up, that's something that like genuinely was something that wasn't like what the corporations were telling us, you know what I mean? Or like a mom and pop or like whatever.
Or what our parents were being told to believe,
Yes.
you know, and it getting passed down to them. And
Yeah.
one of our big components with the food trailer too is the education side of it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we want people to build a relationship with their own food.
Yes.
You know, we've gotten into such a culture of like, we don't look at it as a privilege to prepare our own meals.
Correct.
It's more
It's
of
a
a
task
burden.
and-
It's a
yep.
hassle. It's an obligation. And like
sure.
the biggest privilege and blessing that we have is to be able to feed our bodies.
Right.
You know, even more so if we were able to like grow it and cultivate it and pick it and all the things, like ultimately, you know, we're working towards getting to where that would be more of the case. But at least having that, you know, gratitude for the grower and that appreciation when you bring it home and you wash it and you handle it and you put the work into it, you do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the food picks that up and you know, in turn recycle that energy back around. Excuse me. So education with the food trailer is really important with us.
Love that.
Because we can't, you know, we're only there 3 days a week. That's really not that many meals.
Right.
And I'm sure you know with your clients, these cheat meals and these cheat things and I'm like, you're ruining a week's worth of progress in one meal.
I know.
And you're undoing all this good under the disguise that you're doing something good for yourself. And that's, you know, it's so we're trying to educate people.
I love that.
While we're here for you, we want to teach you how you do this for you, because the real reward comes from doing it for yourself.
Oh my
you
goodness.
know?
That was beautiful. Hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing to the Love Your Body podcast on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're listening. I appreciate you so much for sharing these stories, listening, and just, you know, being a part of the DDF community. If you are interested in any challenges I have coming up, the Get Your Movement In Challenge is launching here soon, so stay tuned for that, as well as online programming. Would love to work with you from all over. And you guys, I'm just so blessed and so thankful for this season of time. Please, you know, if you get a chance to share the mission, rate the podcast, whatever you want to do, comment, let us know what you think about it. We would love the support, and we're always looking for sponsors. So if you're someone that's listening right now and you want to get your business out there as well, we'd love to have you as a sponsor. And so let us know at Danny@DannyFitness.com. Also, just side note for anyone who's watching, like, you look like, this is hilarious, you look like a relative of mine. And like, I don't, like, none of my people and my friends would know, but like, as we're sitting here, I'm like, you look like one of my aunts.
Oh, that's cool.
And it is cool, but like, she's like from Lawrenceburg, you know, whatever. And so like, you know, again,
That's
it's
fun.
even same type of demeanor and stuff like that, but it's just hilarious.
That's
and I'm
cool.
like, but I also like, I feel like I've known you. Like,
Oh,
so like
good.
when we're like talking and stuff,
Good.
but it's been so awesome to hear, like, again, that, you know, from your weight loss, but from also like the, you know, your injury in with your back. And then just from, I mean, really from like being kind of, I feel like being played down from the big get-go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
From a young age.
Yeah.
And to then look back at this. So when you look at everything that you've been able to kind of cultivate in this life and everything, you know, do you just feel, because you said you're getting more spiritual and everything?
I mean, my dad's a preacher, so I was raised in ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was raised very spiritually.
Okay.
My husband argues I was raised in a cult.
Oh my God.
Well, you know Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
It's a Bible town.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, so I was raised in ministry and in church, and so I feel like I had that value set in that system, and the things that I was taught, I lean on that a lot of just to remind me to keep going, and that your body is a temple. I do believe that, and I worked really hard for many years of my life in lots of paths of self-destruction.
Right.
And like to come on the other side of that and go, well, that didn't really serve me in any way. You know, it did to teach me lessons
For
and
sure.
to learn things about myself and to learn things about life. But I don't I don't feel like that was necessary. Like,
Right.
I mean, I do now that I see where it wound up and all that, but
Yeah.
but I don't like for people to force themselves through darkness.
Right.
You know, because light's always there, you
Yeah.
know, so I'm happy to be more on the lighter side of life.
No, I love that. And so with all of that, like, because as we close out and everything, I want to ask you, because I ask everyone this question and everything, but what is something that you love about your body?
Oh, man. I love that my body is... I love that I get to move my body. So often I take for granted that, you know, with the injury and things like that, or like I kind of was a sickly kid.
Yeah.
You know, I look back a lot of times of just running around in the yard was like a task and a burden.
Okay.
And like yesterday I was just, you know, silly running with the dog and like nothing hurt. And I was like, to be in a point that I feel like, you know, of all the times I've spent hurting, and like as a general rule, my pain level is so low now that I'm very thankful that I've trusted myself enough to heal my body.
100%.
And that our Creator made us to where we can heal ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like everybody has I'm very thankful my body has the power from within to, you know, do what you set it out to do. And if your intentions are good and pure and light and goodness seeking, like you're going to get good outcomes. Not to say good things will always happen to you, but you will feel better. So
I love
I'm
that.
thankful
so
my body
much.
can heal.
Yes. No, and like, again, I needed to hear that because, you know, dealing with autoimmune issues and stuff like that. So it's, you know, been a whole.
And you know, everything I've learned is like through trying to heal myself, I've met other people like this, and I've been able to share other people with other people.
Yeah.
And there is a large network of people who really want good in the world.
Right.
And it's when you get all those people together, it's like good meets good, and then things get better. So I just, you know, I'll give you my kinesiologist number.
Yes, no, please do. Like I said, because I'm here for it. I'm here for any like naturopathic, holistic, like all of the things. Because I mean, because there's just not enough, you know, there's not enough knowledge about it, and so it is definitely it's huge. So I love that. So thank you so much for coming on and
so
sharing
great
your
to
story.
be here today.
This
Thank
was
you.
beautiful.
I know. I feel like we just got started.
I know. But until next time, you guys.